flat $50 fee for body removal fees. I'm sorry, we just had lunch and we're talking about coroner's responsibilities here. I do want to further discuss a zip tie idea and charging of zip ties. I want to charge for eradication, destruction, and transportation of illegal marijuana outside the legal medical marijuana. If it's legitimate medical marijuana, of course, it's not going to be eradicated. But if it's illegal marijuana, we have a responsibility to charge a destruction fee, and the sheriff's office is very prepared to push that paperwork through. We don't charge for alcohol beverage control permits. We're one of the few sheriff's office that doesn't charge for that. We don't charge for false alarms. And these are all things that I've worked with the CEO's office, and hopefully we're at a point of having an analyst for a 1-month period work for the sheriff's office to enable us to get the paperwork through. I honestly do not have staffing to prepare the paperwork for you to get the fee enhancement. So the further behind, the farther I get there, because we need to get the fees implemented now. But I don't have the staffing to do it. Our CPA business manager, Norm Thurston, is putting in more than his fair share, and he's a salary employee also. And we're trying to make it work with what we have. So I understand your need and your responsibility to ask the sheriff to get the budget within order. But I'm telling you, we weren't appropriately funded from the get-go, and we've reduced our overtime estimates that we thought. Right now, our sheriff's office and the jail are running with about a third the overtime per month that we thought we'd be spending, because everybody is doing more for the same. And we've worked with the transportation around the state to get prisoners, and these are not things that we just decide we need to do. Well, you know, let's just spend money transporting a prisoner. They're all court orders. And when the court orders us to bring up a prisoner from San Diego or bring a prisoner back from Susanville, it costs a lot of money. And we can contract out and have a private agency do it, or we can take care of it ourselves for a lesser amount. And these are things that we're trying to do. So as you know, I have an open door. I want to hear your suggestions. I want to hear your recommendations. But please just don't say cut the cost of the sheriff's office, because we're running on a shoestring as it is. And we don't need to cut the public safety. We don't need to send an image to the public and to the tourists that are going to come to this county that we're going to reduce public safety. We know that in June we're going to have an increase in need for overtime because of the illegal marijuana that's going to come throughout our county. So I'm not going to stand before you and say we're going to continue to reduce our overtime. But I'm going to tell you right now, we're doing everything we can to reduce it. We're reducing our mileage by about 10% right now for a variety of reasons. We're working together, and we're having as many telephonic communication meetings as possible so we don't have people driving hither and yon for meetings. So we're working together to make it work. However, it's still going to be an expensive operation to run. So I'll take your questions, I'll take your comments, I'll take your suggestions. I want to talk a little bit about our jail and what the economic situation that we're experiencing in our nation, state, counties is doing to us. A year ago, I would stand before you and tell you our average jail population was right around 275. And remember, to operate a jail is average is $77 a day per prisoner. And right now, our average jail population is about 310. So we've over the last 3 months, our jail population has increased 12%. For whatever reason. Historically, if you look at the spring of each year, jail population always goes up a little, but not 12%. And so the economic times are increasing our jail population. The criminal justice system increasing our jail population, and everybody says it's the right thing to do, but when I stand before you and say that we're $1.1 million over budget, you look to me and say, what are we going to do to reduce the cost? So it's a vicious circle. And I don't see that we're going to solve it in 3 months. I can say this without equivocation, that the budget situation we're in right now, the budget crisis we're in, is going to give you, the Board of Supervisors, and the County of Mendocino, a sheriff's office which is absolutely leaner than it was. And we know that. And we want to take on additional responsibilities. We want to do everything we can to improve the public safety. But I don't want to cut our public safety basic core. Our deputy sheriffs, our corrections deputies, our 24-hour dispatch center, our coroner's responsibilities, our jail bailiffs, our court bailiffs, everything that we do and people expect us to do, it's expensive. I'm sorry. I wish it wasn't expensive. It's expensive.
Supervisor McCowan.
Do you have a rough estimate of the projected new revenue from the programs that you've mentioned, if those were instituted?
Supervisor McCowan, I would love to present that to you, and I can't present it to you right now. I need an analyst for 1 month to do this.
No ballpark or?
It wouldn't be fair for me to throw a number out to you and have it be a number from a cop and not from a business analyst. I don't know. I know that it's going to be significant, and if it wasn't significant, I wouldn't be bringing it up to you right now. We're not going to be penny wise and pound foolish.
Right. And then just to state what everyone may not understand, the board can set the appropriation that it provides to the sheriff's office. We can't tell you how to spend the money.
Well, maybe our understanding is a little different, Supervisor McCowan. It's my understanding that you have the legal authority to tell the sheriff how many positions can be filled, and if the sheriff wastes the money, if he or she wastes your money, you can actually go through a court process and hold the sheriff personally accountable for wasting the money. And I would open my books to anybody and let them see that we're not wasting our money, and let them see that we're trying to be as fiduciarily responsible as possible. Is that okay?
Well, so then we can set positions and we can specify what those positions are.
You can set the position allocation table for during the budget process, which you've done before. So I mean that you can do that, but you can't tell the sheriff. You can't direct the sheriff how to deploy his forces and what to do with the money once it's been appropriated.
But you know, one of the historical realities, what has happened often in the past is at budget time, whenever there's a discussion of, gee, the board would like the sheriff to reduce expenses, and the sheriff typically says, how many deputies do you want me to lay off? Because there's no place else to cut. Or ultimately, that would be the result. You know, we could say, reduce your support staff, and you might say, well, who's going to do the work? I have to pull a deputy in off the street. So
that's a fair response, and that's what I would say. Phones have to be answered. Radios have to be dispatched. And if it's not done by support staff or by our 911 dispatchers, it's either the deputy sheriffs or the command staff, and they all do it. Everybody pulls in. Nobody says, this isn't my job, I'm not going to do it. Right now, what we're seeing in our county is we're seeing deputy sheriffs and the command staff saying we're taking on additional responsibilities. So I guess there's only so many pens we can't buy, Supervisor McCutcheon. McCowan, I'm not trying to be flippant at all. I'm telling you, we all know that the cost of running an operation is with the personnel. That's the cost. And if we have professional peace officers out there doing the public safety responsibilities that they're doing as we speak right now, that our question for you and I as leaders is this where we want them? Do we want them out doing public safety, or do we want them in the office answering a telephone?
Because your bottom line position is if the board were to make any significant cut in the appropriation for the sheriff's office, that will be reflected in less hours on patrol.
Well, it's going to be I guess in a way, but I would have answered it by saying it'll be reflected in fewer deputies. And right now our deputies are in outlying areas, very specifically the resident post. And I am absolutely not going to